Hello, I'm David Kain. I'm the president of Kain Automotive, and I'm delighted to introduce you to Jen Cole, the president of Sincro Digital. I've invited Jen onto the program today so that I could actually learn a little bit more about Synchro and what they've been up to lately. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Jen. And Jen, if you would, just tell us a little bit about your background and in particular, tell us about Synchro.
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me, David. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your audience. So, I started in this business back in 2000. So I had moved to Seattle, was looking to get involved in the startup technology world, and I joined a little company called Cobalt that was all about building websites for car dealers. So I've been in this business for a long time. I've had a lot of different roles. So I've done everything from hiring talent to building our advertising teams to managing relationships with our large dealer group accounts. And now I'm really excited to be actually leading the whole Synchro team as we enter our new chapter, because we went from being Cobalt to then being bought by ADP and then spun off to CDK, and then CDK recently made the decision to sell the digital marketing business, which is Synchro, and so that's where we find ourselves today. So, Synchro has deep roots in this industry. We've spent many years building technology very specific for the automotive industry, and now we have the opportunity to build on that history and create something new with Synchro, with this new brand, and really double down in some new areas that are really important for us and our future success. So.
Wow. So it's fun for me because I started working in our dealership way before digital started, and I got to see the beginnings. And you mentioned this startup Cobalt and John Holt and the team and all of the originators that literally created the first websites for dealerships to use. And if anybody's ever used the Wayback Machine on Google, you can see some of those early products. And when you think about digital design, the simplified platforms really were way better back then than some of the sites that we see nowadays on dealers' pages, and the simplicity by which consumers could navigate. And you have to appreciate the fact that navigation bar, the top navigation, if you look at heat mapping and things of that nature, and you're able to see the consumer still go to those top nav sites, I mean, it's pretty interesting, the roadmap that Cobalt and through those other iterations now leading to Synchro have brought us to that. So when you think about dealers, and obviously you working with the large dealer groups, and you probably can talk a lot of dealer talk. You probably know what ACV is and upside down and all of the other terms, good or bad, that the industry is known for. My question would be, if I'm a dealer, what does Synchro do? What challenges do you all solve for the dealers?
Sure, yeah. It really is about taking that technology we've built over the years and layering it with great services to help dealers be more profitable and efficient, which you mentioned. Over the years, we've all managed to really complicate things, and I think we're very focused on how do we simplify the complex using technology, but it's all about using those tools to help dealers both attract, win, and then retain their customers in their local market. We've built a lot of what we would consider big tech, but we really are honing in on how do we make that tech effective at local so that dealers can take advantage of it and truly be in front of their consumers, wherever they are in their buying journey. And so, that includes building and optimizing their websites, which is really about having a modern digital storefront today. We do all of the search engine optimization and make sure that they're visible on the search engines. Local search is very important today, so that's a big focus for us. We have digital marketing experts to partner with dealers because it's really all about the dealer's brand, right? Yeah. And their business challenges. So the tech is great, but you have to have the experts actually partnering with the dealers to understand their market and their differentiators and their inventory challenges, their pricing challenges, and make sure that's front and center in their marketing strategy. And then, last but not least, we've really built out an omni-channel advertising presence to make sure that we help dealers be wherever their consumers are. So it's about that full suite of digital marketing capabilities for dealers is what Synchro is all about.
So since you brought it up, I'm going to ask for your explanation of what omnichannel is. And whenever I'm working with somebody in digital marketing, everybody's got a little slightly different take on that. We talk about digital retailing or what's an internet sell and so on and so forth. But what's the perspective from you on omnichannel?
Sure, yeah. So it's kind of everything in the kitchen sink these days, right? Because again, for dealers, they have to be wherever their consumers are. So that's the search engines, right? That's all of the websites they're shopping on. So, being able to do search advertising and the display advertising and retargeting. And now it's about digital radio and digital TV and OTT, and then the social advertising, email marketing, right? So it's really about, and the way we think about TV and radio and print is how do we take all of those messages and bring them online, because that's really where most consumers are consuming their TV today, right? And so those mediums are still very valid, but it's about having the channel, the capabilities to flight that advertising across all of those channels. And then when we say omni-channel, what we also mean is that we're optimizing across all of those channels using technology to move the dealer's dollars around based on where we can get them the best bang for their buck, the best outcome. And so omni-channel for us is also actually optimizing across those channels.
Good. So, it's interesting. You're probably the first one I've ever talked to that didn't use machine learning and artificial intelligence and all these big phrases. You're talking in a language that dealers really can appreciate and understand, because when you basically say we want to be wherever the consumers are and then optimize it to where they come in to see you, that really is the strength of what dealers are looking for. And for years, I remember looking at web analytics of the dealership, and then the explanation was, well, we're getting a lot of clicks and so on and so forth. And you know this because you've got a team that assists dealers on processes and communications and things of that nature. It's hard to sell a click and it's hard to sell an impression. But if I get a lead, if I get a like, if I get some chat type of engagement, or better yet, I get a walk-in or I get a phone call, now I can do something. So if you skew towards that, and I know website conversion is always one of those topics that some marketing companies, particularly website builders, try to skirt around, but at the end of the day, we got to have opportunities. And I was on the broadcast the other day, and I still see that website conversion is in that 1.5% to 2.5% range. Mm-hmm. Is that good? And what should we have a better standard? And what really should dealers look for? Because to me, if 98.5% or 98 or 97.5% of the people come to my website and don't do anything, I'm thinking that's not so good, is it?
Right. Well, I think it is all about evolving that system of measurement, right? And I agree, it's not about an impression or a click. It's about, you said the word engagement, and to us, it's all about understanding engagement. And so that, it can mean a lead. It also is a call, a click to call. Are they looking at your inventory? How much inventory are they looking at? How much time are they spending on it? I mean, that's whoever a dealer is working with for their marketing. Those are the kinds of things they should be looking at. And yes, I mean, we all would love to drive more leads, and we should focus on continuing to drive leads, but we have to expand beyond that and understand how consumers are engaging with us. I mean, it's different by age bracket, right? I mean, some people are much more willing to provide their information in a lead than others. But I can tell you, people are spending their time online, so it's truly about how are they engaging with you. And I think most dealers, could be spending more time looking at, is my content actually engaging the consumers when they arrive, right? To me, that's a really important focus.
And I think that's one of the strengths. You're not necessarily pointing it out, but I'm going to put an exclamation point around it. You build the site, you optimize the site, you market the site, you bring traffic and impressions to it. it's got to matter to you whether or not that site performs. So it's not as though you're just generating the traffic to that, although that is a module or modular piece that you all do optimization, you all do marketing for any kind of site. But if you all build the site, it's got to be really something that you all now have this internal expertise to where even if you're doing the SEO or marketing for another website company's site, you probably can coach the dealer. And that leads me to a conversation I had with Drew Doran and Randolph Jones, part of your all's advisory team to a dealer. I think you all call them pro care specialist. And that's always been my favorite part of the companies that led to Synchro nowadays are those team members. And my question would be, what do you think when you're sitting there and you're probably nervous? Are they saying the right thing? Are they doing the right thing? How do you train them up? Because those two guys were spectacular. And here's the situation. You all were doing search, you all were doing social, and it was another company's website, but you all were helping the dealer as though it was your own whole ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing that feedback because that's what we strive for. So thank you, David. And Drew and Randolph are great examples of the Synchro, I think Synchro culture and what we're about. Drew was hired to be out in the field, in market with dealers, right? And we actually, since we became Synchro, have been expanding on that and getting more people out in the market because we know that's important. And then Randolph, so I've known Randolph for 12 years, and he was one of the original experts we hired in search engine optimization when most of us didn't even really know what SEO was, right? And it's veterans like him that actually then help the rest as we've grown, that help us build out a team of people that you have confidence you can put on the phone every day with dealers, and they know what they're talking about. So. I'd say for us, the culture is about building out a team of people, whether it's the people who are in the field with dealers, or the whole team of people who really think of them like an agency, right? So we've got creative people, we've got SEO, website performance managers, digital advertising analysts. They're all available to work with dealers, whether we have the website or not, right? We love to have the whole thing, but if we don't, we still like to be the partner to the dealer, and it's about being the extension, to the dealership and being able to supplement where they need us to plug in. And then in terms of just being able to sleep at night around, how are these people doing, right, on the phone every day? I've been in this for over 20 years, and to me, it's about the people that you surround yourself with, and the hiring starts with the hiring. So hiring great people who are passionate about both technology and automotive, right? I've learned over the years you can hire people who can talk tech, but if they don't understand the dealer's business, right, you have a disconnect. And then the learning is really important, and that's something actually we've been investing in a lot at Synchro, is this sort of culture of learning. So we actually have over 20 internal podcasts a month that we produce on all the different subject matter areas just for our internal people. And then share them out. And then we also share a lot of data and insights that we learn across our network because we work with so many people, so many dealers, that we share sort of our learnings, what's working, what's not, and it's constantly changing, right? I mean, gosh, you think about the evolution with like Google My Business. Just sharing the information we're seeing to help each person then work with their dealer on how to optimize for the latest. So it's a lot about that information sharing and culture of learning that helps us. It helps me sleep at night.
I can imagine. So as a business advisor to clients, how involved will you all get? Because some of the things that really this gets into is you talked about dealer profitability. Have you started thinking, or obviously you think about it, and I'm sure the dialogue that you have with the clients that you've worked with over the years have said, well, the net effect is I've got to spend the money so that I can earn the clients that I can sell vehicles to. And now we're seeing growth in fixed operations. I would assume parts and accessories. When you see the picture behind me, the new Bronco, they're hoping that it's a lot like the Jeep Wrangler and it becomes an accessory laden vehicle. So when you look at the spectrum and you're giving advice to dealers, does it get down into the profitability? And if you spend here, here's what kind of return you should get?
Yeah, yeah, it does. And you know, a lot of the technology that we've built is about helping dealers be most profitable with their marketing spend, right? And so it's one about, you know, bringing the information forward to the dealers so they can make decisions, but then it's also about leveraging the technology. It's very hard today to just put a bucket of money in search or display advertising or social and expect it to just work for you, right? And so by moving the money around based on where you can get the best engagement, right? Not the cheapest click necessarily, but where can you actually get in front of a relevant car shopper who's then going to come to your site and engage with you. That's a lot of what we've built our technology around. And then we're finding we're spending more and more time talking to dealers about sort of the full operation. So there's a lot more dealers can do you mentioned like fixed operations. And you think about that's not usually been sort of the focus when you think about digital marketing, right? But you have to too, to compete with all the third parties out there and to really have your dealer brand in the market. It's got to be about your full end-to-end position and offer your brand to your customers, right? Which is about your cars, but it's also about how you're going to service them through the whole cycle and staying in front of that. And is something we've been focusing a lot more on the notion of customer loyalty and helping dealers in that area.
Well, and that really inspires me because we have a visual that we created years ago where it's a digital marketing ecosystem, and imagine just a rectangle box, and then the center of the box is the CRM, and that's where we bring the guest and we service the guest. So once they're in the CRM, if we sell them, then we move them through service marketing, owner marketing, and then repeat referral, and we bring them back in. So that part of the ecosystem kind of takes care of itself. And if you all coach your dealers on it, that's really the free business. Or, you know, we spend less to generate loyal customers if we think about it that way. But then on the other side, you got to build the website, and then you've got to generate traffic to the site. Certainly, you're very familiar with the websites that generate the third-party leads and those that just have the display of the used vehicles, and then, as you mentioned earlier, the social engagement. So all of those are the expensive side of the ecosystem. So you all want to help the dealer be as efficient as they can. And then you coach through the CRM and processes and tactics that lead back to that ecosystem really being a thriving system. And I think that's when you talk about that, you're one of the few people that even goes beyond the transaction and even talks about this. So kudos to you guys. I think that's really good. Was that learned? Did someone inspire you to that? Did some dealer take you aside and say, Jen, let me tell you how we really need to do this?
Oh yeah, no, David, this came from years of personal experience out with some of our dealers who built very strong brands in their markets, right? And spending time in their dealerships and, you know, actually in their service phase, understanding how important that is to their business and that is their brand, right? To their customers. The thing I've become really passionate about is what I saw early on was that brand didn't carry through online, right? You felt it when you walked into a dealership. Or you talk to, you know, the owner, the family that's been, you know, it's owned this dealership in their community for so many years, but they struggled to get that brand message online, and particularly in areas where there's new customers coming into the market, they don't necessarily know that brand name. And, you know, the reality is today, for these dealers to compete in their local market, that brand message has got to be front and center online. So I was inspired by some great, you know, dealers with strong brands in their market, and then really motivated to help them figure out how to bring that online.
That's good. And what's interesting, and let's be conspiracy theorists just for the fun of it, when you see Google My Business, Of course, you're hearing all the people that are saying, well, that's just Google just wants to take over your website and they won't need websites and the like. My personal opinion is Google doesn't want to because they certainly benefit from the search engine marketing and other variables. And Google My Business, I'd just love to hear from your perspective, how important it is and what do you all coach on with the dealers that you serve?
Yeah, it's becoming more and more important, right? Because of how Google is prioritizing it. And I agree, Google doesn't want to lose the advertising revenue. So it's all about, they have their place, but they clearly continue to have a strong influence in what matters. And now, with Google My Business, we're seeing that it's just becoming more and more of a prominent spot on the search engine, and you've got to optimize it, right? So especially these days with COVID related challenges, that's where consumers are going to know what your brand promise is. That's often where they're going to see the first information around, are you safety focused? Are you going to keep them safe? What are you open? What are your hours? And then, getting good reviews. It's becoming a very important first stop information place for consumers today. And I don't think it's the only place a consumer is going to go when they're researching a dealer and trying to make a decision, but it certainly is an important part of their journey that's got to be optimized and cared for, is what we tell dealers.
No question. Jim, I'm going to let you just kind of share a little bit about your expectations for the future. If you'd like to prognosticate post-COVID, what do you think dealers really need to focus on as they get ready for what I like to call the comeback? Yeah.
Right. I agree, the comeback. I think that, while it's COVID is challenging for all, it is pushing us, it's pushing the industry to get more innovative and efficient. And so first, I think that it's encouraging dealers to really make the investment in digital retailing, which is an important, it's what consumers want, and they want, even if they're not going to buy a car online, many consumers want to be able to, configure their price, understand their trade value, all of that's important. So COVID is pushing more dealers to get comfortable with that. And where we fit in that, we don't have our own digital retailing solution. And I actually see that as a competitive advantage, because we understand a lot about the space, but we've built the platform in a way that it's agnostic, so we can work with any of the providers. We've built deep integrations with some of them, and then we can really coach and consult with our dealers about how to be successful, because as I'm sure you know, David, it's not about just putting a tool on your site, right? It's about how do you build it into the whole consumer experience and market it. And then the big thing is, how do you make sure it flows through to the in-store experience? So we work with dealers from the, how to market that you can take advantage of a digital retailing experience on their site, and then make sure that experience flows through on the website. And then we've got consultants working with dealers on how to make sure that the experience is consistent once they get into the store. And I think all of that hard work, it will pay off as we start to the comeback, right? We're sort of forced into some of this hard work, and it just paves the way for meeting consumers where they want us to be in this industry. And we've been a little behind, so it's pushing us to meet them where they want to be.
I can just imagine. So I'll share my personal perspective on that kind of thinking. So years ago, I was at a driving sales event, and a fella, I'll probably mispronounce his name, but his name was Luke Robleski, I believe was his name. And I don't think it was automotive, but he was really cutting edge when it came to mobile. And he said, if you're not designing your website to be mobile first, you're going to be missing out, because the growth is ridiculous in mobile. And I know your all statistics will support that remarkably. And we're seeing upwards of 70–80% of activity traffic on the dealer website coming from a mobile device. So my perspective is, in the future, if I'm organically building a website, why wouldn't I design it around digital retailing as a core component of the navigation? And then from my view, it's great to have 35 companies that are out there with digital retailing solutions, but why can't I just work with a company, and my advice to you would be somebody needs to go into a lab and start creating that next iteration of a website that really tackles those from the organics, almost like when we went mobile first, digital retailing first, and start thinking in terms of if somebody wants to go in that direction, that's their business model. And we're starting to see that out in the field as some dealers are saying, we're all about digital retailing. We're going to do every part of our business that way. But why do I have to buy a website and then add on this and add on that, and then costs tend to go up? So I'll throw that out there as a thought and kind of my future hope that we reduce complexity for the dealer and make it easier for the consumer just from the organics of it. And that's all the perspective I'll give you. I have a lot of dreams that come up on all kinds of crazy stuff, but I was raised in the business. Yesterday was my 60th birthday. And like my 8 brothers and sisters, I was raised in and around the dealership. So it's all I know. And so I think about it all the time. And it's a great industry and one that I think Synchro has a really great future in. And if you care to share why people should consider Synchro for services, I'll give you the floor and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, I appreciate that, and maybe we're going to invite you in and help us design our next generation of websites. So thank you, David. Yeah, and I think that just to finish on that last thought, I think integrating the digital retail experience is critical. Balancing that with, again, making sure that that dealer's brand is front and center and that they can take care of the consumer end to end, right, the full life cycle. In a simple way. You mentioned, simplifying the whole experience, I think will be the next iteration of where we go. So, so to that end, for us, first and foremost, as I said at the beginning, we've been in this business. I haven't been in it quite as long as you, David, but 20 plus years, and really building technology for this, for the automotive sector. And we're just really excited about the next phase here. We've got the platform, great people. It's about innovative digital marketing, technology platform, services, and insights to help us all get better. Now with Synchro, we have more control, frankly, of where we're going. And so we've been able to invest in, again, continuing to advance our team's skills, the quality of our support, really invest on the insights and how we're using data to optimize our technology. So the biggest thing is we just want dealers to challenge us, right? To challenge us to be the best provider for their local dealership and let us prove ourselves. For years the manufacturer program sort of dictated what dealers did, and today dealers have a choice. So we know every day we have to win the dealer and then prove to them every day that we are the right choice. So that's frankly what we're the most passionate about right now. In addition to staying out ahead of the trends, right? What's next? And one of the big things we're working on right now is OTT, right? The over the top, and I mentioned especially with COVID, we're seeing such a migration of consumers moving from traditional TV to getting their TV online. I saw a stat yesterday that we've seen it go from every day. There's been more than 20,000 cancellations of traditional TV watchers who are cutting the cord, they say, right?
Wow.
So we've been very focused on building technology. Back to the theme of cost-effective technology that actually enables dealers. This is going to be tough, right? The local dealer competing with the big brands.
Yes.
And so it's about technology that enables local dealers to actually have a presence in this space, reaching their potential consumers. And you actually can be very focused and efficient in your dollars in that digital TV space. So that's just an example of where we're continuing to innovate. And then the last thing we're really focused on is the partnerships as well. And, we can't do it all, but we want to make it easy for dealers to do the right thing. So, working with partners, and we recently launched new capabilities with Facebook enabling any dealer, whether they work with us or not, to leverage our dealer inventory feeds to make their social advertising better. And now, just a few weeks ago, we launched a partnership with Accessibility to really bring a cutting edge. You know, we didn't talk about this, but a big challenge for dealers today, they're focused on is ADA compliance and accessibility. And so our partnership with our technology partnered with Accessibility's capabilities, we think brings, you know, a really unique solution to dealers. And my point is just that, again, we're not going to build it all ourselves. It's about finding the right partners who can bring the right solutions to dealers with us. So.
Gosh, I like the direction of Synchro. John Quaddy, our mutual friend, was correct. He said you'll really enjoy hearing Jim's philosophy, and I certainly have. And Jim, thank you very much for joining me, and I know we'll be in touch and talking more in the future. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I really appreciate the time, David. Thank you.